From the main screen here, we're going to first pick our products that we want to use. And for interior, I'm going to use some flat panels. And for exterior, I'm going to use wall pack as an example. So what we're going to do is find our product first. So we're going to go to products. And from here, you can select either by category type or controls category or type. But since I know what we want, I'm going to go down to Metalux. And then here's a bunch of choices. I'm going to select the flat panel link here. And this is going to take us to all the available flat panels. For this discussion, I'm going to use the FP LED, which is our most popular version of the flat panel. So I'm going to click on this link. Now, no matter what interior fixture you are using on Cooper's site, the site is laid out very similar for interior and exterior. First, it's going to give you some information about the flat panel or the fixture you're looking at, maybe some pictures, nice product description in this area. Then on the right-hand side, and this layout is the same for all fixtures on their website, you will have a link for spec sheets, IES files, brochures, if you click the little plus button here, installation instructions, Revit files, cell sheets. For this case, we'll use a 2x2 flat panel for a quick layout. The same process works for all interior fixtures. So first thing I'm going to do is click on the spec sheet here, and that's going to pull up the 2x2 flat panel spec sheet. It's going to tell me all the great things about the spec sheet, or about the fixture rather. But then there's also going to be catalog numbers here and what they mean as far as lumen output, color temperature, CRI, watts, all that good stuff. So for today's purposes, we're gonna do a layout utilizing the 22FP4240C, which is a 4,000 lumen, 4,200 lumen, 4,000 Kelvin fixture. And then we'll also use the 3240C, which is a 3,200 lumen, 4,000 Kelvin. So I know what fixture I want to use. I'm going to go back to my fixture page, and I'm going to select the IES files. So within this screen, this is going to be the same for any interior fixture as well. It's going to break down IES files by 1x4, 2x2, 2x4, and then ones with emergency. But if you notice, anything here that has a blue part is a link. Do not click on that. It's not going to hurt anything if you do. But what's going to happen is it's going to open up the IES file in a text document that looks like this. If you're using visual or you're using AGI 32, you could click and drag this link into that program. But we're not doing that. So what we're going to do instead is anything that has a little calculator next to it, we're going to put a checkbox next to the fixture that we want to do the layout with. So going back to our spec sheet, we have the 22FP3240C and the 22FP4240C. So I'm going to click those, 3240C, 4240C. Again, you could click them all. You could select 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't matter. We're just going to select these two for comparison's sakes. So what you want to do is scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, and there's this link here that says calculate the selected files. So I'm going to click that. That is opening new screen on my computer. And if someone could just type in the chat box and let me know that you see this thing that says Luxiflux Zonal, that would be awesome. So from this point, whenever we've selected those two files, this new window will pop up here. The IES file calculator is up now. Okay, so in this section here, very quickly, what we're going to do is kind of run through left to right on the settings. The first button here is our luminaire, and here's where we can select to pick which IES file we're going to use or which fixture we're going to use. We'll start with the 3240C. So that's telling us which file we're using. On the info button here is going to tell us about that fixture. It's 30 watts, it's 3,200 lumens, it's a 2x2, all that good stuff. The third button over here we're going to select, and this is our proration factor, or also known as a light loss factor. We want to change that to a 0.9, and we want to use that for interior and exterior fixtures with Cooper. So changing that to a 0.9 gives us what we call a maintained foot candle level, not just your initial out-of-the-box foot candle level. So this is going to be your foot candle level over time, not, again, brand new when you hang it up. So that's important. So we've covered everything. The last button here for Luminaire is just going to be where we can change the shape of it if we wanted to. You could technically make it round if you wanted to, but we're going to leave it square. So next button up here is going to be a picture of a box, and here's where we designate our room size. By default, it's 40 by 20 by 10. We will make it, say, 30 by 30. We'll make a square. Now, one thing to note with this program, you can only do squares or rectangles. You cannot do L-shaped rooms. You can't do any weird shaped rooms. It's literally just a square or a rectangle. And it's just to give us a quick calculation of the estimated foot candles. So 30 by 30, the height is at 10 foot. I'm going to go ahead and make that 9 foot, which seems to be a pretty common height for a office. Work plane height here, this is going to determine where the foot candles are calculated. So if you were doing a gymnasium or something like that, you may want to put it at the floor. But for our purposes, we'll call this an office. We're going to put it at 2.5 foot, which is your common desk height. And then suspension length, if you were doing a high bay, maybe you put your ceiling at 30 feet and you suspend the fixtures down 1.5 feet or something. But since we're recessed into the ceiling, we're going to put our suspension length at 0. So now if we look, our fixtures are actually recessed into the ceiling. If we look over here. Okay. Next, we'll go to Reflectance tab. And again, we're just working our way left to right and then left to right within each tab. So Reflectance, here's where we specify the reflectance of the room. If it is a typical office, 80, 50, 20 is kind of your default. This is percentage of 0 to 100. So 100 is the brightest white that you have available. 0 would be the darkest dark that you have available. So completely black. So for this purpose, we're going to use 80, 50, 20 as it's sort of defaulted. If you had a gymnasium, maybe you with dark walls or something, maybe in dark ceiling, maybe you reduce this to 60 and 30. Or if you had a really dirty warehouse, maybe you reduce it then as well. So that's reflectance. So we're still on the second box here, room size and reflectance. Now the third button here is going to give us some options where we specify. So here under specify, we can say how many foot candles we want, we can say how many fixtures we want, or we can say how many lumens per watt we want. Now if you notice, we'll go with fixtures. So currently it's showing 16 fixtures is going to get us an average of 50 foot candles, but I'm going to go and change that to 8 fixtures. If you change it, it's going to make it to the closest even or odd number of fixtures that are evenly spaced in the room. So this is showing us, okay, 9 fixtures is going to give us 28 foot candles. If we go to 6, you'll get the point here. We get 19 foot candles. So anytime we change one of these numbers here, it's going to change the calculation on the right. So for now, for an office, let's say we want 50 foot candle average. We're going to do that. It's telling us we need 20 fixtures and it's 0.67 watts per square foot. Now here we're specifying, we say we want 50 foot candles either minimum, closest to 50 foot candles, or maximum. So right now 50 foot candle minimum, but if we hit 50 foot candle maximum, it's going to change the number of fixtures as well. Tell us, okay, the maximum foot candle levels in that space is 50 at that point. I typically leave it on minimum unless otherwise specified. Okay, and then layout, which is the second little tab underneath the room here, underneath the specified tab, you can now change your layout. If you want to do, instead of 5 columns of 4, you could do 4 columns of 5, you know, which it's ultimately however you want to lay it out. You can also change, say 6 columns of 3, it's going to automatically change your foot candle levels here when you do that. So at any rate, we're going to leave 4 columns of 5, and we can also apply a ceiling grid if you wanted to. If you notice over here, it'll then center things in the grid. You could also center the grid on the wall. You could just take out the grid, center the fixtures, so on and so forth. Give you some optical differences there. One thing to note, your foot candle levels do not change. Your averages here do not change if you change your layout. So if we did 20 fixtures and we were going to do 20 in a row, 20 by 1, while it looks really bad, our foot candle average should stay the same. So we'll go ahead and go back to 5 rows of 4. So with that being said, that is showing our, again, we specified 50 foot candles minimum. It gives us 62. here's our layout, 5 rows of 4. We can modify and change that. The last thing to go to would be your settings here. And this is where you can change your distance from foot to meters. You can change your illuminance from foot candles to lux, or you could change your power density from watts per square foot to watts per meter squared. Cool, so now that we've got that, a couple things I want to mention over here on the right-hand side. You have the ability to click your mouse and hold and turn this to whatever direction you'd like to view it at. You also have some presets here, which would be plan view, elevation view, and isometric. So with that being said, let me go back here real quick. So currently with this fixture we have chosen, we are at 62 foot candles. There's 20 fixtures. Now if we go back here to our fixture at the top, go to luminaire, we can now change that to a different output if we like. So we'll switch it to the 4200 lumen just to see the difference. And when I do that, look over here on the right, and it'll just watch the changes there. So we'll change it to the 4200 lumen. And now to get a little bit brighter but close to the same foot candle levels, it's only going to take 15 fixtures. So you can toggle back and forth on those between 3200 lumen and 4200 lumens and decide which one you like best. Then our last step is going to be to print this. You cannot save this within this program, and once I close this, it'll be gone. We'd have to start over from the beginning. So instead, what I will do is, you could hit share. Here you can email it to yourself or someone else. The other thing I usually do is I go to print, and then here you can do editing the information. So I can say Bill's office. I can say, C plan. I can type C plan, blah, blah, blah. All these fields are editable. So this is giving us all the information we just looked at on the previous screen. Luminaire watts, total number of lumens, size of the room, reflectance of the room, layout of the room. And then it's also giving us up here at the top our total or our average of foot candles and our number of fixtures and our watts per square foot. Here on the right-hand side, you can click these same boxes. So you can show plan view, elevation view, or isometric view on any one of these. Let's scroll down a little bit. You can also click and hold and rotate however you want as well. So once we've done that, we've got it how we like it, then we just go to print, and then that's going to open up a print dialog box for your PDF printer, or however you're going to print it, whether it's paper, PDF, whatever the case may be. Now I'm going to go to exterior, and again, with exterior fixtures, I know the fixture I want to use, which is the Lumark Accent wall pack. So I'm going to click on Lumark. I'm going to now find which fixture I want to use, which in this case I'm going to go to wall mount, and then the Accent LED wall mount. You could do this with any of these fixtures. Again, this page layout is the same as the interior. Tells us all the great things about the Accent fixture. Tells us all the description of the fixture. We've got spec sheets here. We've got IES files, brochures. By the way, for those who are on the line that are distributors or contractors, either way, if you're looking for install instructions and for some reason you swear they weren't in the box and the box got thrown out, but we know they weren't in there, you can usually find any install instructions under technical information on the product page. Okay, so spec sheets, I'm going to pull up the Accent spec sheet. And again, because I want to figure out which fixture I'm going to use, and I'm going to scroll down here to the bottom, and here, this gives me all my wattages, whether it's refractive lens or full cutoff, and all the good information. So we'll go here to our IES files for the small. So here we've got 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A. 6 is not on this page, so we'll compare the 4 and the 5. So I'm going to pick AXCS 4A and AXCS 5A. And I'm going to scroll to the bottom, hit Calculate Selected Files. Now a new window popped up, and you may run into this on your computer depending on what web browser you're using. So in this case, it's going to run off of Flash, so I need to click Run Adobe Flash. I'm going to allow it. And once this pops up, if someone wants to give me the heads up and let me know they can see where it says loading, that would be good. And then we'll move along once it loads. So this is very similar to our interior tool, but this is going to be an exterior view. So this is only in plan view, and this is showing bird's eye view, if you will, of the fixture. So the 0 line here and the 0 line here, that is, consider this like a wall, let's say. And so this would be building here on the left side of the wall, and then this would be parking lot or whatever on the right side of the wall. So again, just like before, you have the ability to toggle between IES files. We're going to start with the 4. Just like before with that light loss factor, we're going to make it a 0.9. Our next option here is arrangement and layout. Usually what I do is I start with a single fixture, just one fixture out on its own, because this is how we're going to be able to tell very quickly how much light this fixture puts out and where. So column 1, row 1, single fixture. Don't worry about spacing because we've only got one. We'll come back to that. Mounting height, let's just say this is over a man door at 12 feet. So we'll use that for comparison's sake. So if we look here, this is the optical distribution of this fixture. All these lines represent a foot candle level. If you hover over them, it'll tell you 10-foot candles, 5-foot candles, so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do is go to those ISO lines, and I'm going to uncheck everything but that 0.5. And 0.5 is your typical recommended foot candle level for an exterior project from, again, safety and security minimum foot candle level. So what I'm looking at right here is the fixture mounted at 12 feet. Is where we had it, 12 feet. I have a 1/2 foot candle right here. And judging by the spacing of these squares, and if you notice there's a scale here on the left, if I use my scroll ball on my mouse, it'll zoom in or zoom out, and it makes those boxes bigger or smaller. So this is a 24-foot square. I'm sorry, a 12-foot square rather. So just a quick glance is showing me, okay, this fixture at 12-foot mounting height is 12, 24, 30-something feet of forward throw. We'll talk about changing this scale here in a second. So 1/2 foot candle minimum is what I'm showing here, and here's my scale. Now, if I go down to display, my scale, here's an easier way to do it. My scale is at 1 inch equals 20 feet. I'm going to make it 1 inch equals, 12 feet rather. I'm going to make it 1 inch equals 20 feet. So this is showing me at about 30 feet, I've got 1/2 foot candle. I'm going to leave it at that scale because it's easy for me to read. We can go to analysis, and this is going to tell you your statistical areas, your average, your max to mins, all that good stuff. And then again, units would be feet and foot candle versus meters and lux if you want to change that. So that's giving us the quick calculation of our exterior fixture mounted on the wall at 12 feet. Now, if I want to figure out how many fixtures I need or how close these fixtures need to be to maintain that 1 foot candle level along my building here, which is this line, I'm going to go here and I'm going to say rows 2, and it will show me, okay, here's 2 fixtures. They're spaced 50 feet apart. Maybe I can put them 100 feet apart. Well, no, that's not going to do it because my 1/2 foot candle minimum is gone, right? I'm down to 0 in between the fixtures. So I'm going to change that spacing a little bit here to say 40. I think 50 was pretty good. 40 is definitely good. We're getting covered. Let's go to 60 foot and see what happens. So 60 foot, we still have a gap. So I'm going to say we'll leave them at 50 foot spacing, 12-foot mounting height. It's going to give us that 1/2 foot candle minimum with this particular fixture. Now I can go back to fixture here, and I can change it from the 4A to the 5A, and let's see what happens. So our distribution pattern got a little bit bigger. We're on 50-foot centers with the 5A still. Let's change that to 60 foot and see what happens. Now, cool, we're still connecting there basically at the wall. So maybe we can do 60-foot centers if we use the higher output fixture versus 50-foot centers with the lower output fixture. So let's leave it at that. We'll come down here to output, and here's our options to print it out and give it to our customers. So if we go to print template, I always do preview first. That's going to give us a visual representation of what we were just looking at on our screen. And it also gives us the ability to put in title information here. Blah, 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 blah. You get the point. Now I can print this to a PDF on my screen. You may not have PDF printer, so maybe you have to print it to a piece of paper. Again, there's no way to save this. What I will tell you is do not X out of this until you're ready for it to be gone. If you want to go back to the previous screen, just hit close and it takes you back here. So the difference between template, visual representation, and summary is just your XY coordinates and tilt factors. It still gives us the same information, but not as nearly as easy to read. So I would typically go to template and then print it out from there. So that is a quick layout tool with exterior fixtures.